Sign it. He needs the deposit today. You have a job. You can survive. Don't be selfish. My mother shoved the quitclaim deed across the mahogany desk, her fingers pressing down on the paper so hard her knuckles turned white. I stared at the document. Then I looked at my brother, Jason. He was vibrating with anxiety, wiping sweat off his upper lip, while a greasy-looking man in the corner tapped his foot, checking his watch. My father's funeral reception was loud enough to hear through the door, but in here, the only thing that mattered was the panic sale happening before the dirt on Dad's grave had even settled. I picked up the document, but I didn't read it. I didn't have to. I manage logistics for a shipping fleet that moves cargo across 3 oceans. My entire life is built on spotting the bottleneck, the discrepancy, the missing container that everyone else overlooked. And right now, the discrepancy was sitting right across the desk, tapping a gold pen against his teeth. Jason. My older brother. The entrepreneur who hadn't held a W-2 job since the Obama administration. I looked at the sweat staining the collar of his shirt. It wasn't grief. It was the specific, acrid scent of a man who had borrowed money from people who don't send late notices. He needed $185,000 to clear the debt. And this house, a sprawling, timber-framed beauty sitting on prime lakefront land, was the only thing left to burn. Just sign it, Ciara, Margaret hissed, her voice dropping to that dangerous register she saved for me. Stop reading and sign. The notary is waiting. I leaned back in Dad's leather chair. The leather was cold against my back. In my head, I opened the red ledger. That's what I called it. The mental spreadsheet where I tracked every dollar, every hour, every piece of myself I'd given to this family. Line item 1. 3 years ago. Margaret called me, weeping. The roof was collapsing, she said. Dad was too proud to ask for help. So I drained my savings. $45,000. I wired it the next morning. I ate ramen for 6 months to rebuild my emergency fund. Line item 2. 2 weeks later. Jason posted a photo on Instagram. VIP table at a club in Tulum. A bottle of Grey Goose in one hand, a cigar in the other. Caption. Living the legacy. I realized then that the roof was never broken. My money hadn't gone to shingles and contractors. It had gone to Jason's ego. I looked at my mother. She wasn't looking at me. She was watching Jason with a terrifying, desperate devotion. And that's when it hit me, the logic that had ruled my entire childhood. It wasn't that she loved him more. It was that she viewed him as broken. And therefore, he required constant maintenance. I was the strong one. I was the daughter who paid her own tuition, who got the promotion, who handled her own flat tires. To Margaret, my competence was a penalty. Because I could survive without her help, I was obligated to sacrifice myself for the one who couldn't. It is a twisted, parasitic form of love. She was feeding me to him, limb by limb, because she knew I would limp away and heal, while he would starve without the meat. You think I'm being selfish, I said, my voice quiet. I think you're safe, Margaret snapped. You have a salary. You have a 401k. Jason has nothing. If this deal falls through, he goes under. Is that what you want? To see your brother destroyed because you wanted to hoard a house you don't even live in? She was using my stability as a weapon against me. She was banking on the fact that I was the responsible one, the one who always fixed the mess. But she forgot one thing about auditors. We don't fix messes. We expose them. I looked at the greasy investor in the corner. Then I looked at Jason. I wasn't going to save them. Not today. I uncapped my pen, not to sign their contract, but to start my own. Wait. I froze the pen a millimeter above the paper. The cash investor, a guy whose business card probably just said "We buy ugly houses" in bold font, let out a sharp, annoyed exhale. Jason flinched like I'd slapped him. What? Jason snapped, his voice cracking. What is it? Just sign the damn thing, Ciara. The notary is charging by the hour. I set the pen down. Slowly. Deliberately. I smoothed out the corner of the quitclaim deed. Taking my time. Watching the panic rise in his eyes like a tide. I can't sign this, I said. Margaret made a noise in the back of her throat. A strangled sound of pure fury. Don't you dare start this now. We discussed this. We discussed me giving you the house, I corrected, keeping my voice flat. But if I sign a quitclaim deed transferring $1 million asset to you for $1, the IRS considers that a gift. That triggers a gift tax audit on my finances. I looked straight at Jason. I work in corporate compliance. I can't have the feds digging through my accounts because you needed quick cash. I'm not going to prison for tax fraud just to help you. It was nonsense, mostly. But it sounded technical enough to scare them. Jason didn't know tax law. He knew poker odds and crypto scams. He blinked, the greed warring with the fear of a federal audit. So what? He spat. We just don't tell them? That's not how the government works, Jason, I said. But there is a workaround. I reached into my bag. I didn't pull out the LLC documents yet. That was the kill shot. I pulled out a single, crisp sheet of paper I'd typed up in the car 5 minutes ago. I can write this off as a bad debt. I lied smoothly. If I classify the transfer as a settlement for a defaulted loan, it balances my books. But I need proof the debt existed. I slid the paper toward him. It was a loan acknowledgement. It stated simply that the $45,000 I had wired 3 years ago was a personal loan, not a gift, and that Jason accepted full liability for it. Sign this, I said. Admit you owe me the 45 grand. I'll use it to write off the loss on my taxes, and then I'll sign your deed. Jason laughed. It was a wet, ugly sound. He picked up the paper, scanning it with a sneer. That's it? He asked, looking at Margaret. She just wants her little tax break? God. You are pathetic, Sierra. Always counting pennies while the rest of us are trying to make real moves. He thought he was winning. He thought he was maneuvering around a petty, bureaucratic sister who was obsessed with her tax return. He grabbed the pen from my hand. In my line of work, we have a saying about fraud. You don't catch a liar by screaming at them. You catch them by handing them a pen. The most effective trap isn't a cage, it's a bargain. You offer them exactly what they want, the money, the escape, the easy way out, and you hide the hook inside the fine print. Jason didn't see a confession. He saw a shortcut. He scribbled his signature on the bottom line. Jason Henderson. The ink was black and permanent. He shoved the paper back at me, grinning like he'd just won a hand with a pair of twos. There, he said. You got your receipt. Happy? Now sign the deed so this gentleman can cut the check. I took the paper. I folded it neatly, creasing the edge with my thumbnail, and slipped it into my jacket pocket. It felt heavier than paper. It felt like leverage. One more thing, the investor said, opening his briefcase. My compliance officer requires an affidavit of title. Standard procedure for cash buys. He pulled out a new document. The final lock on the cage. Standard procedure, the investor said, sliding a single sheet of heavy bond paper across the desk. It's an affidavit of title. You're swearing under penalty of perjury that you are the sole lawful owner, that there are no other claims on the property, and that you have the undisputed right to sell. Jason picked up the pen again, twirling it. He didn't even look at the text. He was staring at the check the investor had half pulled from his jacket pocket. Yeah, Jason muttered. Sole owner. No claims, got it. He didn't get it. He saw a formality. I saw a prison sentence. This wasn't just a contract dispute anymore. In our state, signing a false affidavit of title isn't a mistake. It's a felony. It's theft by deception. It's perjury. It turns a civil disagreement into a criminal indictment. He hovered the pen over the signature line. For a split second, he hesitated. Maybe some reptilian survival instinct kicked in. He looked up at me. We're good, right? He asked, his eyes darting to the loan acknowledgement I'd just pocketed. You got your little IOU. You're not going to pop up with some other accounting error? Margaret stepped in, her hand resting on his shoulder like a shield. She's fine, Jason. She got what she wanted. Just sign the paper so we can get this over with. Your sister knows her place. Her place. I looked at them. The mother who groomed a monster, and the monster who was about to eat her alive. I forced my shoulders to slump. I let my eyes drop to the floor, channeling every ounce of the beaten down, passive daughter they had trained me to be for 30 years. I'm done, I whispered, making my voice sound small. Just finish it. That was all the permission he needed. He wanted to believe he had won. He wanted to believe I was defeated. Jason pressed the nib to the paper. The scratching sound was loud in the quiet room. Jason. He signed with a flourish, underlining his name like he was signing an autograph. Done, he announced, tossing the pen onto the desk. The notary, a quiet woman in a gray cardigan who had been blending into the bookshelves, stepped forward. She checked his ID. She checked the signature. Then she lifted her heavy, self-inking stamp. Ka-chunk. The sound echoed off the wood paneling like a gavel strike. A red seal appeared next to his name. Sworn and subscribed before me. It was over. The trap was sprung. The steel bars had just slammed shut, and he didn't even hear the clang. He grinned at the investor, reaching out a greedy hand. All right, Jason said, his voice slick with relief. Paperwork's done. Let's talk about that wire transfer. I watched the ink drying on the affidavit. I watched the notary close her logbook. My heart wasn't racing anymore. It had slowed to a cold, steady rhythm. I reached into my tote bag again. Not for a pen this time. I pulled out the blue folder. The one with the reinforced edges. The one I'd kept in a fireproof box for 5 years. Actually, I said, my voice changing. The submissive whisper was gone. This was the voice I used when I fired someone for theft. There is one more document we need to review. Jason froze. The investor stopped halfway to his checkbook. What is it now? Margaret snapped. We're leaving, Ciara. You're not leaving, I said. And he's not paying you. I placed the blue folder on top of the affidavit Jason had just signed. The label on the front was printed in bold, black letters. Operating Agreement. Dad's Legacy. LLC. I slid the folder across the desk. It hit the wood with a heavy, final thud. What is this? Jason asked, staring at the label like it was written in a foreign language. Read it, I said. The cash investor beat him to it. He snatched the folder, flipping it open with the practiced speed of a man who reads contracts for a living. He scanned the first page, then the signature page. He looked at the date stamp from the Secretary of State. He let out a low whistle. Then he started laughing. It wasn't a nice laugh. It was the sound of a shark realizing he almost bit a hook. You idiot, the investor said, looking at Jason. You absolute moron. Excuse me? Margaret bristled, her maternal defense mechanism kicking in. Don't speak to my son like, he doesn't own the house, lady. The investor shoved the folder back at Jason. This property was transferred into a limited liability company 5 years ago, and according to this operating agreement, the sole member and manager is her. He pointed a thick finger at me. Jason froze. He looked at the document, his eyes darting frantically across the lines. Dad's Legacy, LLC. Sole member, Ciara Henderson. This is fake, Jason choked, his face blotchy red. Dad wouldn't cut me out. He didn't, I said calmly. He protected the asset from you. He knew you'd gamble it away. And you proved him right in 4 days. Margaret snatched the document. Read it. Then glared at me. You manipulated him. You made him sign this when he was sick. Check the date, I said. 2019. He wasn't sick, just done rescuing Jason. He set this up himself, and paid the fees quietly, so you'd never notice. Silence fell. Dad hadn't just died, he had issued a final judgment. He trusted me. Not them. The investor stood, shoved his checkbook away, and snarled at Jason. You wasted my time. You just signed a sworn affidavit claiming clear title. That's fraud. If I see you again, I'm calling the district attorney. He nodded at me once and left. Jason stared at the door. His money gone. His creditors still waiting. On the desk lay his signed confession. $45,000 of debt and perjury. He lunged at me, fists clenched. You ruined everything. Do you know what they'll do to me? I care about the house, I said. And you're trespassing. This is my home, Margaret shrieked. You watched him commit a felony and handed him the pen. I replied. You're not a victim. You're an accomplice. I raised my phone. I own this property. No lease. No rights. Jason just threatened me in front of a witness. I nodded at the shaking notary. You leave. Now. Jason hesitated, weighing jail against flight. Come on, Mom, he muttered, grabbing his jacket. Margaret begged. Where will I go? You have a pension and a sister in Ohio, I said. Figure it out. They left. The door slammed. The house was mine, but it felt like standing in wreckage. I didn't stay. I secured the house, installed a motion sensor, and went to a motel. At 2:14 a.m. My phone flashed red. Motion detected. Master bedroom. Jason went straight to the wall safe. He punched in my birthday. The safe opened. He grabbed the coin albums, then froze. Pennies. All of them. I had replaced the collection weeks earlier. He trashed the room in panic. Then blue lights filled the walls. Police cuffed him among broken glass and worthless coins. I turned off the phone. A month later, Jason was in court-mandated rehab. Charges pending. I filed a lien on his car just enough to cover the broken window. Margaret moved to Ohio. I didn't answer her calls. One afternoon, neighbors arrived with casseroles, pastries, lumber people my father had helped without asking anything back. That was the legacy. Not the asset. The open door. I hadn't stolen the house. I'd saved it. Winning isn't destroying your enemies. It's building something they can't touch. If you've ever had to choose between saving your family and saving yourself, know this. You're not selfish, and you're not wrong.